Words from my face.
Well, it would be.
Welcome to Words from My Face. On tonight's show, we're talking about lots of things. That's it, just things. Not really anything in particular, nothing here nor there, but things. If you want to know what things, I guess I'll look it up for you. But we're talking about the Suicide Squad reshoots. We're talking about the Ranch TV show and what this might mean for cutting the cord in the future. And we're giving you a Destiny versus Division. Which one should you choose? Stay tuned. I really did forget the first topic. Don't you love it how I talk over the intro like it's not really the intro? But what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Words to My Face. My name is Brian. With me, as always, producer extraordinaire Brendan.
You.
And we are the one and only home of the Chewbacca chainsaws. And we have been on a little bit of a hiatus recently. Chewbacca actually sawed my leg in half, so
I was
wasn't
pretty
able
severe.
to really do much. He hurt me bad. He hurt me bad. All right,
You recovered remarkably, though.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's also one of the best surgeons in the world. So after he did it, he actually felt bad and reattached my leg. So the process only took us about 2 weeks to get me healed and back on air. So,
You know, some would think that Chewbacca might use his advanced knowledge of healing and regenerating limbs to help more people, but nope.
nope.
But helped you, Brian.
That's not
You're a
how
lucky
Chewie rolls.
guy. That's what you get for being his roommate, I guess.
Hey, you know, me and Chewie, we like this, son. Like this. Except for when he saws my leg in half, and then I get really upset with him. I mean, it's really hard to get blood out of the walls, especially the ceiling, because once you saw my leg in half, blood just goes spurting everywhere. I mean, everywhere. And most of it gets on the ceiling. And, like, I can mop up the floor easy enough. You can put a little elbow grease in that, get it off. Not the ceiling. Not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah, especially if you have a drop ceiling, whatever, where it's kind of like more absorbent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not the best. Now, you would think Chewbacca, since he's such a medically advanced Wookiee, could at least, you know, bring me some sort of cleaning supplies. I'm sure they have some way of getting blood out of everything from where he's from. But no, he said, I just fixed your leg. That's about all you can get. I was like, but you also broke my leg in half by sawing it with your chainsaw. So, yeah. But we don't get into that too much. I mean, it's better not to keep arguing that point with him.
Yeah, I mean, eventually he might just saw your leg in half again, so.
And then not fix it next time, and then I'd be way more screwed. So, yeah. But it is Monday night. It is our entertainment night. Let's jump into things and let's talk about movies.
Movies!
So, we all are eagerly anticipating the release of Suicide Squad, even though Batman vs. Superman apparently is one of the worst superhero movies ever made. I'm not saying that out of experience. I've just read reviews, and I'm not so eager to run out and watch this movie. Now,
I think its Rotten Tomato score is pretty low, but
like 18% or something crazy like that.
But I think many of us expected it to be pretty bad too.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into that, but that's a topic for another time. But this was supposed to be the start of this great DCEU, the DC Extended Universe, Cinematic Extended Universe, whatever they like to call it. And then Suicide Squad, which really was the movie I was looking forward to more than Batman vs. Superman, was supposed to be continue the tradition of the good movies that we were supposed to get out of them. Now, everything we've heard so far is that the DCEU was going to take a little bit of a darker tone. Marvel was known for, yes, having serious and sometimes dark themes to their movies, but they always lightened it up a little bit. They always had a little bit of comedy. I still look back at one of the funniest moments of all of the superhero movies was Avengers 1, where Hulk and Thor had just taken down that big serpent thing, and then Hulk just smashes him for no reason. I mean, that was hilarious. It worked. It really gave you character to these movies and made it more than just about some guy beating over the head somebody else, you know, with superpowers. It worked for Marvel, and it has continued to work. I mean, Ant-Man is probably one of my top Marvel movies, and that was a hilarious movie. Guardians of the Galaxy, one of the most successful out of the Marvel universe. Hilarious movie. Not all the way through, but plenty of funny moments. But we were supposed to get a little bit of a darker tone with the DCEU. I mean, if you look at Batman, he's one of the darkest characters in comics.
He's the Dark Knight.
well, that's for sure.
He's
And the
also one of
way,
the lightest characters, if you remember the Adam West Batman series,
well,
which was hilarious.
yeah, with that's true. That is true. But I was expecting to see something like Dark Knight Returns, the Frank Miller story, and apparently they based part of Batman vs Superman off of that, but it never quite held. And so Suicide Squad was a really good opportunity for them to get in and get very. I hate to keep saying dark, but dark is the way to do it. Like a dark humor was what I was expecting out of this
Yeah.
movie.
Well, you're focusing
So
on villains in that situation, so it's if that's where you want to go, hey, a villain movie is a great place to go
yeah,
dark.
I mean the perfect way to do it. You can keep a little bit of the dark comedy in there, but keep it a more serious tone. Well, apparently they've been calling the cast back to do some reshoots, and apparently these reshoots they're to make the movie funnier.
Hmm.
They wanted to lighten the movie up. They brought back in the actors to do a couple different scenes in different ways to make it a funnier movie. And this almost makes me not want to see the movie now.
Hmm.
Not that I'm saying that, hey, I don't want any comedy in a movie. I do, but I was hoping for a dark comedy, not a light-hearted comedy, if that makes any sense. This if I want a light-hearted comedy, I'll just watch, some silly, goofball movie on Netflix.
Yeah, and
But
you
I
do
wanted to
have
see a serious superhero story
and
from a point of view that we've never seen before, and keep the right
yeah,
tone. And
and
I'm afraid that this is going to set the wrong tone.
you absolutely have the right characters to do dark humor in Suicide Squad. You have the Joker, you have Harley Quinn, who are all about dark humor in a villainous way.
For sure, yeah.
There's
And
so much.
Joker's coming in this one. Jared Leto's playing the Joker. Yeah, you're right. You had the opportunity to have that dark humor there. Joker is not called the Joker because everybody thinks he's funny. It's because he's got one of the most dark and twisted sense of humors of all time, the most deranged sense of humor of all time. You could have had a piece of that with Harley Quinn. Not saying that.
At the same time, you can do some light humor with them too. But yeah, I mean, it is a good setup to do dark humor. That's their characters. You're not even
Yeah.
stretching at that point. Um, yeah.
But when I hear that they going back to lighten up, do some lighter comedic scenes, it just kills the vibe for me for this movie. I don't know why. I still want to go see it in theaters, but it hurts. It hurts. It's almost like when they said, what were they doing with Spider-Man 3? If you remember that one, I was all for Spider-Man 3 because Spider-Man 2 came out and it was an amazing movie. I was all for Venom. And then you found out that the cast Topher Grace's Venom. And then they found out that they were going to throw the Sandman in there. And then you found out that Hobgoblin. It's just like, you're doing too much. Quit it. And that's what it seems like they're trying to do with this movie. They're trying to stretch it in too many different directions.
Which is what they did with
Batman versus Superman. And so this really, it's taken us down a dark road. I mean, they need to get Zack Snyder off of these
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is Zack Snyder directing Suicide Squad as well?
I don't believe he's directing Suicide Squad, but they wanted to do
He's
something
still
like
directing like the overall universe.
yeah, the Justice League movies and everything. And he's kind of in control of the, pushing this whole DCEU forward, similar to the way Kevin Feige. He's kind of the producer of everything, but then they had Joss Whedon come in and kind of direct. He did like the first Avengers movie, the first two Avengers, and they kind of had him push. Okay, this is what we want. Phase 1, 2, 3 forward, and they kept it, a good, a constant theme throughout them. They were serious. Some of them are a little darker than other ones. Avengers 2 was a lot darker than Avengers 1, but they had a levity to them that you expected. And when DC came out and said, hey, we're going to do these movies and we're going to do them towards the darker side, it was like, okay, well, that's what's going to separate you. You are going to give us something that we didn't get out of the Marvel universe. And now it almost seems like, no, okay, we're going to go back and copy what they were doing.
Yeah, but I think that also might be a sign, like we were talking about, what Zack Snyder's involvement is. Maybe they're starting to change the direction to go along with the rumors we've already heard that maybe they're going to pull Zack Snyder off of directing the DC movie universe, and maybe they are just rethinking the whole DC movie universe at this point because of how bad Batman vs. the Superman did.
Well, now we can't say that it's done bad. I believe in 2 weeks it made $700 million,
It made a lot of money,
but it
but it
was
set a
also an
bad tone.
81%. Yeah, it was an
Yeah,
81% drop off between week one and week two, and that's not a good sign
and
for
the
these
ratings were
movies.
terrible though,
Well,
and it had a lot of momentum because they did all the marketing to get really good numbers, even with a bad movie. But that's going to be a, normally it's like, okay, well, we did it, we made all our money back on this movie, so it's a success. But not if you're trying to start a movie franchise.
yeah. Or a universe
Yeah.
that they're trying to throw out
So
there.
they're, because if it does low numbers there, then that means that their subsequent movies that they're usually would put more money into after a while are going to see less and less returns. So even if it did well commercially just from those first 2 weeks of just powerhouse from marketing, I could see them rethinking things because of how bad it did critically.
Yeah.
If it's going to affect the rest of the universe, you're not going to base the rest of the franchise, the rest of the movie universe on a movie that people now distrust. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to want to start changing that direction. I could see, because I think they said that before too, or Warner was already talking about changing direction and who was in the hands because of initial bad feedback. Um, do we even know? Like, I think the last I heard, they were going to start making JLA, um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
but
that's in the that's I believe that's
that
one of the next ones. There might be a Wonder Woman movie before that. I'm
yeah,
not
well,
100%
they were
sure on the
supposed to
order.
start filming though last week, but I wouldn't be surprised if we hear um, they're changing directions with that, because it seemed to me like they were waiting that extra few days to see
Yeah.
just how Batman v Superman did before um, pushing the button saying go ahead. I wouldn't be surprised if they start moving things around and maybe bringing another director in even for that. And that's why I think too Suicide Squad may be reshoots may be an indication of that, of them working in the background, maybe try and change direction for everything. So we might see JLA changing direction as well
Yeah.
um,
And you know what the
because of it.
funniest thing about all this is? It's that DC already has the greatest blueprint they could ever need to move forward and be successful. And I'm not even talking about Marvel. I'm talking about what DC is already doing and WB is already doing with animated films.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most not everybody realizes this, but they've been churning out a lot of animated films, like three or four, maybe up to five a year, and they're almost all spectacular. I've seen one or two. There was like a Green Lantern one that wasn't so good, but the Justice League War, that was supposed to be showing the new origins of the Justice League after the New 52 came out. There's Batman and Robin, where Damian Wayans pops up. I mean, there's just so many. Wonder Woman movie was actually spectacular. They have a ton of really good animated movies out there, and I mean, that's that is a storyboard right there. Here you go, in about as much
Yeah,
detail as you could ever
be-
want.
because they've
Here's
been
your
doing that
storyboard.
for decades now. The
Yeah.
the basic blueprint of how they've been doing their animated series, and I think some of the people behind it have been there since the '90s at least,
Think
working
about
on these
Batman's
projects.
voice. Yes, it changes in these DC animated films, but oh man, I wish I had. He's like I want to say Kevin Dorff, but I'm probably wrong on that. But Batman, he's been the same voice since the '90s with your the Batman the animated series. You look at Superman; they've kept almost the same voice for him. Like they know how to do these right, and they know how to put these characters in there. Why can't they just translate it to
I think
live action?
I think you're hitting on something though. The real question is why not get some of the production guys? I'm sure it's probably a different studio
Oh yeah,
that works on it. Why not pull them up and say, hey, you guys write the movie and help
yeah.
us work on this movie franchise. They've been doing it. They do successful. Yes, I know that doing the caliber of live action huge blockbuster movie is different
Oh,
than
for
doing their
sure, yeah.
animated movies.
But
But
again,
use
it
those
gives
guys
you a
to help
template.
generate the story. Like pull from those resources that are doing well, even if they get less attention because you advertise them less. Um, but you pull from those guys. Like go follow
Again,
their blueprint, like you said.
it gives you a successful template that you can pull from. But who knows? Maybe we're just overreacting to one movie that is apparently bad. I can't really judge it too much. I haven't seen it yet, but you know, maybe that's what we're doing. We're just overreacting to one thing rather than another. But I doesn't bode well for the DC cinematic universe. It really doesn't. So I don't know. Hit us up. Let us know what you think. Are we overreacting? Is the Suicide Squad going to be better or worse for these new reshoots? Hit us up. Let us know. Of course, comments down below. At Words to My Face on Twitter, Google Plus, Facebook. Always good ways of getting a hold of us. But let's keep on rolling. And actually, I need to plug in my computer real quick because I'm about to die. So pardon me. I'm about to die. Not my computer's about to die. I'm about to die. Physically die. Yep. That's how I'll roll. Not pinned down. Just death. Just death.
Ow.
Won't matter how much I'm pinned down after I die. But
I mean, you'll be pinned down by death after you're dead.
I don't want to be pinned down by death. I want to do it. But let's talk a little TV.
TV.
TV. Now, the state of TV is an ever-changing landscape, especially nowadays with the streaming services that they are. Now, we're not a this won't even be the 10th time we've talked about streaming services, the way they're changing the TV landscape. But we have another example of how traditional TV is no longer going to broadcast networks or even cable networks. We're seeing it pop up on these streaming sites. Netflix has just released a new show called The Ranch. Now, if you don't know what this is about an ex-pro football player who moves into a ranch with his brother, and they're supposed to take care of it. You have some big name actors in it. Danny Masterson from That 70s Show and Ashton Kutcher are actually the stars of this. I imagine Ashton Kutcher is going to be the ex-football player and Danny Masterson's the other way. But the format of this show is just the traditional sitcom. Think Two and a Half Men, think Seinfeld, just
I think there was... I
two,
even
three
remember
sets.
an old sitcom that was about a football player that moves in with his brother after he gets into trouble. Not into a ranch, but a similar setup.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is a traditional cookie cutter sitcom. These are things that have lived on TV. They're not huge to produce. budgets. Do you think these low budget type things belong on streaming services? And if they do, why would you ever watch regular TV ever again? You don't need to. Hit us up, let us know what you think. Comments down below. Of course, at Where's My Face on Twitter, Google Plus Facebook, always good ways of getting a hold of us. And I just did that just in case you're watching the entire show and you're like, you just finished in the middle of a sentence. Great, Brian. Yay. Yay, but let's talk some video games. Destiny or The Division? Now that's a choice a lot of people are out there trying to make. Personally, that's one that I'm struggling with right now. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. So, both of these games are in the similar vein. They're MMO shooters. Now, I guess you could theoretically say they're both RPGs. I don't quite like labeling them as RPGs. Just my idea of a traditional RPG. These are not. But these are both shooters where you go through, and the big point to doing it is to do it with friends, do it with people. Most of the end game stuff, the hardest stuff to do, you have to have other people for. It's not like the days of old where you could beat any level of Mario by yourself. It is a new frontier. And these are two of the games on the precipice of this new frontier. Now, you might say, Brian, MMOs have been around forever. Yes, they have, for sure. EverQuest back in the 90s. Ultima, right? That was an MMO for a while. World of Warcraft. Understood. Those have been around for a good long time. I'm talking about this new frontier as in the console gaming frontier and bringing MMOs to the forefront. Again, you could say, Brian, Final Fantasy XI, that was an MMO on... Yes, granted. But it's a new style of MMO that we have seen coming out. And this is the shooter MMO. Two big names out there, Destiny, Division. Which one do you pick? I'll break down some pros and cons of both and let you know which one I think I'm going to go with for the future. Now, Destiny came out first. It was the flagship one of these, and it was remarkable. I mean, spectacular. The interaction with friends, what you could do, it wasn't hard to find people, even if you didn't have anybody in your friends list playing. The controls were so sleek. I mean, it felt like you were playing Halo, but they made it so much more interactive than the traditional Halo. Kept everything good about Halo, tweaked a few things, gave you pretty much Halo. We're going to call it Halo Destiny. but they revolutionized things by the way you have to play. It's not without its own pitfalls. Sometimes being online is a little annoying, even if you only want to play single player. But the majority of it was an amazing experience. You got to get in with raids with friends, and a lot of people, especially me, I always heard about raids. I always knew the MMORPG concept of raids, but this was really the first time where it was like, yeah, you have to get in there, you have to cooperate. You're not going to be able to do this by yourself unless you have a coordination with a group of people, and that was what really changed things for me. It really made it a lot more interactive than it used to be. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I used to jump online every night and play Call of Duty, but that was just deathmatch. You played Halo, of course, played co-op campaign and stuff like that. But again, it just didn't have the same feel. Now we have The Division that's out. Now this is kind of building on top of the foundation that Destiny laid, changing up a few things. It's not a first-person shooter. It's a third-person shooter, going from more of a run-and-gun shooter to a tactical cover-based shooter. Changed up a couple things. But it gave you the same feel of a Destiny, saying, yeah, you can do some of these things by yourself, but it's going to be so much more fun if you go out and find a group of people. And I think they even did it even one step further because they made it even easier to find people to do these things. I mean, it's literally as easy as I want to do this mission, hit matchmake, literally within 10 seconds, almost every single time it says, okay, this is a group you can do it with, jump right in. Now, Destiny did have some matchmaking, but only for the littler things, not for the bigger raids. So this is a difference there. But let's just jump into meat and potatoes. I'm kind of rambling on here. Destiny, Division, which one, if I had to be on a desert island for the rest of my life, could only play one game for the rest of my life, which one would I pick? Brendan, what do you think? No, you'd actually be right. Not saying anything wrong with The Division. Division is the game I'm currently playing, and I haven't even played Destiny for a couple weeks, which is kind of surprising. But if I had to compare these two games together, yes, they are very different. Some people might say it's not fair to compare the two. Destiny, overall, the replayability is more... I don't mind replaying the same missions over and over in Destiny as much as I do in The Division. Not saying that I do mind playing some of the missions over and over. It just, replayability has to go to Destiny. I mean, you could talk about things like graphics; they're negligible. You could talk about things like gameplay. Both of them are fun in their own rights. Yeah, they're a little bit different, but they're along the same veins. Both of them give me a satisfying playtime. I would just say that the Destiny, it's a little more creative, as in it takes you to a realm that you really haven't ever seen. It's more of a sci-fi landscape, whereas the Division kind of rehashes some of the things that you see. How many Armageddon movies have we seen where there's a plague or a virus that breaks out and kills a lot of people? I mean, a ton. It's an interesting place. It's a genre of storytelling that I really enjoy. I like the Armageddon stuff. What it's a good character study on human beings. What happens when society breaks down? What do we lose civilization? Where does it go? But I'm going to base this all solely on replayability, and the Destiny has more replayability than the Division. And I'm not even getting through most of the nooks and crannies. Granted, there are a couple big updates coming out for the Division pretty soon. They do say they're going to bring us some more raid-like endgame content, and if that happens, I would the pendulum shifts a little bit more towards the Division. But I played Destiny for almost 2 years. About 2 years, and I loved it. I've never played a game for that much, except for maybe Skyrim. I might have played Skyrim for about the same amount of time. But it's the replayability that keeps it going. It just keeps everything flowing. Now, I will say that the loot system I like better in the Division because there's a lot more loot to get, and I'm a loot guy. Mm-hmm. Oh, and it's a lot of fun for the end game stuff too. It'll keep me hooked. I will continue playing the Division for a while, but if Destiny 2 came out tomorrow, I probably wouldn't pick up the Division for a while. If Destiny had some great update, not just the stupid PoE, Prison of Elders, if you don't know what that is, they're just rehashing the same thing that they gave us last year, so I'm not too thrilled about that. But yeah, now there is something on the horizon that I can see coming that will make it so that the Division will overtake Destiny, and that is the pay to play model that's happening over in Bungie. They started it when they came out with the Taken King, where you could buy like emotes and stuff like that, silly little things that really didn't affect the game. They just were nice little touches here and there. And now it sounds like they're going to start selling armor sets, which if you wanted a certain role for your armor set, certain perks, certain something, this or that, you could literally just keep buying armor and until you got the perfect set, and that might give you a competitive advantage over other people who can't buy. So if that keeps going, and I'm not going to blame Bungie for that, I'm going to blame Activision and all Activision because they're the money grubbers who would do something like this. I don't really see it coming out of a group like Bungie, but that's one of the only things that if they push that too far, that could push me away from Destiny, and I could say no. It's screwed. It's not worth it. I'm not a billionaire. I can't afford to pay to win, and it's just not fun. Whereas the Division, they don't have that in place. So that's the only thing I could do. Well, yeah. Why you gotta say yet? And again, if you want to sell me like if you want to sell me like something that makes my gun a different color, fine. It doesn't really affect anything. Little things like that, like with what was it, Oblivion? Everybody got really upset with when they sold the horse mount with Oblivion that had armor. Well, it didn't help you. it just made your character look different. If you wanted to pay the $5 for that, more power to you. Do what you want to do. But it didn't affect how you play the game. It just affected how the game looks like. So, in synopsis, Destiny, super close to my heart. I love you. Please don't change the way you look like you're going to change. But if you do, I got to fall back with the Division. So play both of them. They're both a lot of fun. But hit me up. Let me know what you think. Which game would you play for the rest of your life on a desert island? Destiny or the Division? And by the way, you do have a great internet connection. That has to be put out there because you need an internet connection. On a desert island, you're going to have an amazing internet connection, just so you know. But yeah, hit us up. Let us know what you think. Which game would you play for the desert island game? Comments down below. Of course, at Words My Face on Twitter, Google Plus, Facebook. Always good ways of getting a hold of us. But yeah, that show was kind of weird there tonight, guys. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. You know what? That's the only thing I can really think of is just Rusty. Plus my new job and getting used to. I meant to sit down and write the whole like, and I did write out 2 topics last night, but I didn't do them as thoroughly as I should have. So I dropped the ball this week, everybody. Not Brendan unplugging his mic during the middle of one of my segments. But no, really. I apologize. It will get better. Yeah. So as always, I am Brian. With me, as always, producer extraordinaire, the tyrant of cool, Brendan. And we are going to headbang our way out of this joint. And good night, everybody. Yeah, it was a good show.